Hi everyone. So today we are going to start our day three uh, Linux boot process. Okay, how Linux boots and what are the basic things we should know before even we uh, start our course. Okay, so this is also important part of the Linux. So if you want to become the perfect Linux engineer, then you should know that what is the Linux boot process. Sometime interviewer they usually ask what is the Linux boot process. So you should know at least a basic understanding how system boots and what are the basic component required in order to boot the system. So whenever suppose you are starting your system, so system start with the BIOS. So that is usually called the basic input output system. So what system does during this phase? So whenever you will boot the system checks the basic component of the system that all the component is in place, like hard disk, RAM, or system board. If it is not, if is there any issue, then usually you will hear the beep sound. Okay, so there are multiple beep sound as well as so each beeps indicates some different problem. Suppose your hard disk is faulty or your motherboard is faulty, so you will continuously hear the different kinds of beeps. Okay. So once basic input output uh, completes, after that system move to the next stage, that is master boot record. So during master boot records, basically system checks. We'll discuss in the next slide. Okay, so check the basic image of the to come to initiate the execute the grub process. Okay, so grub is basically a very important phase of the voting process. So that store the complete system kernel information, and after this phase, system initiate the kernel slash sbin and slash init. Init is your so init contain all your run label information, like which run label your system boots, which kernel parameters the system is going to execute. Okay, and after that you can define your run label to in which run label. So each run label indicates some different stages. Okay, so from 0 to 6. Okay, so 0 is for shutdown and 6 for the reboot. Okay, so run label programs are executed from the etc rc/rc start or d. So here you can see the complete details. Okay, so BIOS basically stand for the basic input output system, perform some system integrity check and search, load, and execute the bootloader programs. Okay, it looks for the bootloader in floppy CD-ROM. So whatever your media ID is it. Okay, so system checks your bootloader. Okay, after that, typically if you want to go in BIOS menu, then you can press F12 or F2. Okay, while pressing the power on button, you need to press the F12 or F2, then you can directly enter into the BIOS. Once the bootloader program is detected and loaded into the memory, BIOS gives the control to it. So it's simple term, BIOS load and execute the MBR boot loader. So if someone is asking that how many phases we do have in boot process, so there are 6 phases. Okay, so start with the BIOS, then MBR, then MBR execute the grub, then after that grub execute the kernel, then init, and then run label. So MBR also is the master boot record. It stand for the MBR stand for the master boot record. It is located in the first sector of the bootability. That is also important part. Sometimes people usually ask that where MBR located during the boot process. Typically /h/dev/HDA HDA or /dev or SDA. Okay, depends. Okay, some system takes SDA, some system takes HDA. So MBR is less than 512 MB in the size. This has 3 components. First is the primary bootloader in first 446 bytes. Partition table into in the next 64 bytes. MBR validation check in last 2 bytes. Okay. The total, if you will add, then it will be 512 bytes. It contains the information about the grub, Okay, Lilo, it was for the old system. After that, we will proceed in the next Grub bootloader. So Grub stands for the Grand Unified Bootloader. If you have the multiple kernel image installed on your system, you can choose which one to be executed. Okay, so Grub contains basically all your kernel information. Suppose you are upgrading your system, or you are performing some patching or something like that. So you can see all the kernel information slash etc slash boot slash grub and grub2, and then you can see the kernel information grub.cfg. In grub display, a splash screen wait for the few seconds. If you don't enter anything, it loads the default kernel image. Okay, so grub display a splash screen. So whenever you boot your system, it will you will see a splash screen. Okay, wait for a few seconds. If you don't enter anything, it will load the default kernel. So here is the catch. Okay, whenever you are booting your system, if you want to go in the grub menu, then while appearing the kernel information, you need to press the arrow key, okay, up and down. Then you can select your desired kernel in order to boot your system. Suppose you want to do some troubleshooting, then you can perform from there on. Grub has the knowledge of the system. The older Linux loader, Lilo didn't understand the file system. So Lilo basically it's an older one. It is not coming nowadays. So Grub or Grub2. So you will see the two things. Grub configuration file. So as I said, it is located in /boot/grub grub.cst. In some new system, you can see /boot grub2 and grub.cfg. Okay, it depends. So you can see all the kernel information there. So mount the root file in kernel stage. Okay, so mount the root file as specific the root grub.cfg kernel execute the /bin and /init program. Since init was the first program to be executed by the Linux kernel, has the process. So init has PID1. Okay, so suppose you are killing your PID1, then your system gets reboot. Okay, so don't kill your PID1. Init stand for the initial RAM disk. Init is used by the kernel as temporary root file system until the kernel is booted and the real root file system is mounted. So here is the init label. So look at the /etc. If you want to see how many run label your system has, you can see inside the /etc/init tab file to decide the Linux kernel run label. So suppose if you are running init 0, you immediately you are halting the system. Okay, suppose you are running init 1, you will go into the single user mode. Init 2, you will go into the multi-user mode. Okay, init 3, full multi-user mode. Init 4, it doesn't use. Init 5, it's a graphical mode. Init 6, that means you are rebooting your system. So these are the normal run labels, okay, which you see in Linux or in some different operating system boots on different run label. If you want to see the details on which run label your system booted, you can run the command who-r. That is the command. Okay. So init identifies the default init label from etc init tab and uses that to load all the operating program. Execute. You can execute the command grep init default /etc init tab on your system to identify the default run label. There are another way who-r command also is there. If you want to get into the trouble, you can set the default run label to 0 to 6. Since you know what 0 and 6 means, probably you might not to do. Typically, typically you would set the default run label to either 3 or 5. Okay, because 0 and 6, this is for the halt and the reboot. So that's why it is mentioned here. If you know what is run label, then you will not execute this init 0 or init 6. Okay, so let's move to the run label programs. Here is the complete details. When the Linux system is booted up, you might see the various services getting started. For example, it might say starting sendmail. Okay, these are the run label programs. So depending on default init, the system will execute the program from one of the following directory. Okay, if you want to see the complete details, you need to go /etc rc.d, rc0.d for run label 0, rc1.d for run label 1, rc rc.d is the main file. Okay, under this file, you can see some subdirectories. So all the based on the number 0 to 6, you can see the run label. And you can see the symbolic link as well. Under our directory, you would see the program that is start with the S and K program. So this is the basic, this is for the basic understanding. Suppose someone is asking that how many run labels we have in Linux, then you can provide your answer. Someone is asking what is the run label 0? 0 is for to halt the system, to shut down the systems. Okay, and suppose it's asking what is the run label for run label 2 and run label 1. What is the difference between the single user mode and the multi-user mode? Okay. So you should know that what is the major difference. So one of the major differences in single user mode, we don't have networking. In multi-user mode, we have the networking. Okay. For suppose which run label is not being used anywhere. So you can see run label 4, run label 5, you should know that this is for the graphical, run label 6 is for the reboot. So major usable run label are run label 3, 5, and 6. Sorry, 2, 3, 5, and 6. So that's all we have in Linux boot process today. Okay, tomorrow we will start our logical volume manager. That is the very important part of the Linux. Okay, if you are the Linux administrator, you should know that how to manage the logical volume manager, how to extend the file system, how to create the file system, how to create the logical volume, how to create the file system. We'll discuss all these points tomorrow. Okay. Thank you so much. Thanks for your time.